And even in a mythical age, there must be some enigmas, as there always are. Tom Bombadil is one, intentionally. Hey everyone, Yoyston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Today we are looking more broadly at Tom Bombadil as a character, but also as a literary entity. Why was he included in the works at all, to only play such a small and enigmatic role? Before we start, I wanted to shout out our new channel, Masters of Mythology, where I will be breaking down myths, very similarly to what we have done here on this channel for a long time. It'll be linked in the description. Please check it out. It'll mean the world to me, my friends. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Let's begin our tale. So, Tom Bombadil, we all know him to be this insanely powerful, mysterious, enigmatic character who, if he had wanted to, could have really easily undone the power of the ring, if he cared enough and saw that problem as his own. Now, he has raised obviously a lot of speculation. We've done videos here on Men of the West about him. Many other channels out there have done videos on Tom Bombadil. But what's interesting most about him is, with all of this mystery and all of this enigmatic nature about him, we never get a true answer about what he's really doing in Middle-earth, other than being master of the forest, the eldest. Like, he's just kind of there. He doesn't come in at some part of the Return of the King to show us, oh, that's why Tom Bombadil is included, and that's why he's important. No, he remains mysterious throughout the whole thing, and even when Gandalf visits him at the end and calls him Moss Gatherer, we don't really get an explanation of who this guy is, what his connection to Gandalf is, and again, what his greater role in the narrative might even be. So, seeing somebody that almost plays around with the One Ring, one author might ask himself if he would even want to include this, because having somebody so early on in the first book of The Lord of the Rings show how much more powerful he is over the One Ring, having the One Ring disappear and reappear, showing that its allure did not work on him, and all of this kind of stuff, I wonder if other authors might have been scared to include such a character, because one might say, would that undercut the importance of the One Ring, and the strength and the fear of the One Ring? Now, here's what's interesting, is not really. Tolkien still found a way to keep Tom aloof about the whole plot of the story, but also to keep the stakes of the One Ring high at the same time. There's a reason so many fans were missing him from the movies, the Peter Jackson movies, and that he wasn't included there. So many people wanted to see him and didn't. So it's interesting that such a character who plays like such a small role, really if any, in the greater narrative, they still missed him from that. So we're going to talk about that more in a bit, but first, many people have theorized what he is, and again, there are hundreds of videos out there at this point about that. Could he be Eru, or the music of the Ainur, or something else? Obviously, we will never have an answer unless Tolkien stowed it away in some important note left behind that will eventually be published. Who knows? I doubt that, based on everything else Tolkien says about Tom. But there may be another option here. He, as Tom Bombadil, might hint at greater forces beyond the understanding of even the Valar in the world. Ungoliant was another similar sort of force. That's not quite one of the Ainur. We don't really get an explanation about them, but they're incredibly powerful, even comparable to the Ainur themselves that descended into Middle-earth, the Maiar and the Valar. But one whose nature we, again, will never truly understand. Where does this great power come from? Why were they sent to Middle-earth by Eru? Why were they allowed to be there? And really, these are all the questions that surround Tom Bombadil. So, obviously, we can't come up with a canonical answer because by his nature, by his definition, Tom is an enigma. And Tolkien, very clearly, based on his letters and everything else he wrote about him, meant for it to stay that way. But if we were to theorize here, perhaps Tom was just a pure force of good, as Ungoliant might have been evil and devouring. Perhaps he was there to just show how good would triumph over evil in the end. What's also interesting is Tom is sort of unalterable. He's a guardian of a timeless old forest, something that functions outside of the scope of the drama. He's not someone who really has a character arc. He doesn't learn to accept the ring as like his burden, or to accept the care of the free peoples as his own. No, he doesn't really change at all. He's eldest and fatherless. He simply is. He exists as this force of good nature in the world, but not altruistic, I see your problems as my problems sort of good. He's just more of like a theme incarnate more than anything else. He is the master because he does not seek dominion over the forest, which obviously is a theme that is very much at play during the rest of the story. Evil cannot comprehend him, and he cannot comprehend evil. He's also there to act as a sort of foil against the Dark Lord, the stories of Melkor or Morgoth, and to test the Hobbits' ability to trust in something that they, and through them, the audience, will never understand ourselves. They cannot understand him, we can't, and there's nothing to help us with that. To understand him, what I'm doing right now, making this video, to piece together why Tom was even included in the books at all, it kind of is against his nature. He just exists, and trying to put logic around that and trying to frame what he is kind of against his nature in a strange way. Putting all that aside, getting back to how Gandalf visited him at the end. This is a really interesting moment because we have no idea what the connection between Gandalf and Tom Bombadil is. Is he some sort of mentor for Gandalf? Is this guy one of the Valar in disguise, or Eru in disguise, or something like that? Who knows? I would bet, though, since Gandalf is also a student of Arda, he probably sought out Tom as a beacon of goodness, maybe seeking counsel and wisdom, and even trying to get advice on whether his time had come to actually leave Arda. Now that Sauron was destroyed, perhaps Gandalf wanted to confer with some sort of higher power to make sure that his role, his time in Middle-earth was coming to an end, and that he could leave happily. Before leaving Middle-earth, it seems that perhaps Gandalf wanted to offer some contrast to his own life, and discuss things with Tom Bombadil that were very much opposite to his own purpose in life. As Gandalf was always sought to wandering, Tom Bombadil stayed put, and perhaps he figured he had much to learn from Tom before leaving. I don't know, that's pure speculation there, but it could be why Tom was included there. Again, he's just kind of pushing the bounds of the thoughts of our characters in many ways, because we definitely see that with Frodo, and that Tom saw much more than he spoke about with the hobbits, and he probably did that with Gandalf too. Again, he seems more powerful than Gandalf. The ring had an effect on Gandalf. It did not have an effect on Tom. So, it is interesting. There is an illogical sense about Tom, but again, what's really fascinating and reaffirms just how Tolkien is really like the best author of all time is how Tolkien was able to juggle having something as illogical as Tom, but not to overdo it to make it be like, what are these chapters? Just skip those chapters. Even if somebody like Peter Jackson in his movie adaptations did skip those chapters with the Barrow-wights and Tom Bombadil and all of that, he still adds this element of world building and thematic discourse about pure good versus pure evil, pure innocence that cannot comprehend evil, and that such goodness will overcome and triumph over all evil in the end. We do miss that in the movies. We do miss that kind of dialogue there. But again, with how big in scope and giant those movies already are, I don't really blame Jackson. I've never really blamed him for omitting Tom Bombadil as a character. Pulling all of this together, ultimately, I think Tom Bombadil is there to be more of a thematic force of that pure, unadulterated, and innocent good. Something to contrast other parts of a darker world. In cutting him from those movies, we do lose a bit of that world-building, thematic discussion, but more or less the story itself does stay the same, but Tom adds such a unique, illogical elements, something enigmatic about the world, something fascinating that draws people into Middle-earth without driving them away because it's so confusing. He just is, and he's happy, and he draws the reader in, and it's like, who is this guy? We'll never know. But again, that's driven so many videos and dialogues and articles, and it will continue to do so for many, many more years. So he is just that. He just is. And that is meant to be, I suppose, enough. And to be honest, it is enough. And we all love Tom Bombadil because of it. From Tom Bombadil, we see that we may stand as a strong, unchanging oak of wisdom, innocence, and joy, even in a world that is, at times, full of darkness. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hit that like button and share this with a friend if you did. Let me know your thoughts on why Tom was included. Let me know what you think about Tom as a character in the comments below. And let me know what other videos you guys would like to see me make. And please check out that second channel of ours, Masters of Mythology. More videos coming there soon. I've covered a bit of Norse, a bit of Egyptian mythology, with some Greek, some Aztec, and others to follow. So Your support keeps the channel going. Please hit that like button and share this with a friend. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider getting some candles for our friends Mythologie Candles, who just came out with some new candles based on members of the Fellowship. Or get some Weta or United Cutlery Lord of the Rings sword statues and other replicas from Castle Con, who does international shipping, and use the code WEST at checkout. And please check out our merch as well. Join our memberships and Patreon for access to our Discord server and our monthly podcast. We just released an episode, Royan and I, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks to our Valor tier patrons and YouTube members. Todes Morgen, Joby Weasel, Ed Patterson, ComicNut64, Zoomi, Peter Sheppard. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to Join the Men of the West, and I'll see you all again next time. My friends, thank you all for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one.